Hey guys, welcome back. So, I haven't really been recording any vlogs lately. Nothing exciting has happened really lately. Nothing to technically vlog. Just been kind of chilling at home, work, school, the usual teenage life. But I decided I wanted to introduce myself a little more. So instead of doing a vlog right now, I'm going to do a history vlog, so to speak. But I wanted to tell people about my story about a big open heart surgery I had 5 years ago. 5 years ago on April 13th. So as some of you might know, I have a heart condition called CHD, which stands for congenital heart defect. There's many different kinds of it. I have hypoplastic right. So basically my heart is on the right side of my body. It's on the opposite side of normal people's. I only have half a heart. The front is facing the back. I have 2 holes in it. It's just all these different wacko things to it. Basically my heart is not normal. Basis of the line. So, without further ado, let's begin the story. So, 5 years ago, on April 13th, 2013, I believe. 13? No. Well, I don't know, guys. 5 years ago, just say that. I started to have struggles. My doctor could tell I was struggling. I was having less energy, less than I usually do, because I already have not much energy to go do physical activities. I just was not able to keep up with the kids in school. I was falling behind. I was just not doing very well. Mentally, I was fine. I was doing fine. I was as happy as I could be. I was fine there. It was just my physical health was decreasing. So we thought it was time to do a surgery, time to decide something. After some time, my doctor came up with an idea. We had 3 surgeries in line that we wanted to do, and we had to pick one. So I was in 7th grade at the time, so I was still pretty decently young, so it was more my parents that were deciding what was going to happen, because they knew more than me. So we picked a surgery, and we decided that I was going to have it done at the hospital that I usually do, at Primary Children's Hospital. Well, we got there, we had packed up. We were ready for this. We went. They did a CT scan the night before, and the surgeons just decided that they didn't want to do it. They did not want to operate on someone who was so technical. They just didn't want to chance it. So that night we drove home. I was still kind of under from the IV from the CT scan, and I didn't understand what was going on. It's like, why are we driving home? Where are we going? I have surgery tomorrow, don't I? But apparently those plans were canceled. So not too long after, my doctor called back, and he found a surgeon in California, UCLA California, who decided he wanted to operate on me. And so we kind of got his contact information, and we started to communicate, and we went up for a night. We went to California for a night, and we went and met with the surgeon and talked with him. My cousin came with me at that time, and my parents just talked to the surgeon and everything. And things were different at the time, because it was a different hospital than I was used to. It was different people, different environment. I never grew up in California. It's a great place though. I love to visit there. But it was my first time in California that I remember. So my cousin and I just went to explore the hospital while my parents and the surgeon talked about certain things, and when we came back up, the surgeon came out with my parents, and things were a bit shaky then, a little, tears were streaming, of course, but before we left, the surgeon, he put out his hand to give me a handshake, and as soon as my hand touched his, he grabbed me and pulled me in and leaned in close, and he told me, "We're gonna take care of you." And that's something I will never forget. So anyway, we only stayed for that night. We went back the next day, and then a few weeks later we went to California again for the surgery. We went a little bit early because my family and I wanted to do a few things before I underwent. We went to Disneyland for a day, we went to Universal Studios for a day, we went to the beach for a day. We wanted to enjoy California a little bit before all the stress really kicked into us. So after all that, it was the morning of the surgery, April 13th. And, for me, surgery doesn't kick in until I'm actually there, until it's actually happening. You can think about it, but it really doesn't take effect till you're in there. So we were getting ready. I showered that morning because this was going to be the last time I showered for a while. So I showered that morning, and then we said goodbye to my siblings, and we headed on. We went to UCLA Children's Hospital to have the surgery. And that morning, I can just remember everything was so dark at the time. The lights, the street lights and whatever, just seemed so bright that morning, and everything was just chaotic. And yet, everything was so silent. So when we got there, the usual check in, sign papers, make sure this is you, all that stuff. And then we went up to the little rooms, the little getting ready rooms. I don't know what you want to call them exactly, but so I got in a room, and they, gave me the little garment clothes things to change into, the hospital gown type thing. And that's when I really started to get cold and whatever, the real chills started to kick in then, and it just amplified the coldness in the room. So I got into the bed and whatever, and I'm one of those people where over time, having so many surgeries and so many different things operated on me, I never got more comfortable. I got more scared of them. And so I chose not to have a mask for the surgery. I do not like masks. Personally, I don't like them. I just feel like I'm drowning and suffocating in those things. So I do an IV to fall asleep rather. I know you have to get poked, and I know it probably is worse, honestly, but for me it's easier and it's faster. So, I think they tried maybe 2 or 3 times before they got it in. And I'm just freaking out and whatever. And then, a few doctors and nurses come in. They let me play on their iPad for a minute until I fell asleep, Then you start to get lightheaded, and then I was out. And that was it for me. That was the last thing I remember, was playing a game on the iPad for a good week. That was the last thing I would remember. I didn't gain conscious for a good week. The surgery was 8 hours. But after the surgery, I started to have some struggles. I was asleep through it all, so personally, I didn't feel it. I didn't experience it consciously. but I'm sure my body was going crazy unconsciously, fighting, because I basically started to bleed to death. Blood was just coming out of all the tubes that were in me. Nothing was staying inside of me, and the doctors trying to scramble to figure something out. They were ready to take me back into surgery to stop the bleeding. And, my dad is trying to be there, but they're also telling him to stay back, and my mom just can't watch at the time. So the doctors decided to put my feet up, straight up into the air, so my feet were like, just straight up in the bed that I was in, trying to help the blood stay in and not go out of me and everything. And they figured they didn't have to take me back into surgery, that they were going to watch for a few hours, watch my monitors and everything, and things were just not looking good. As I kept losing blood, I was just basically getting closer to leaving, basically. Eventually, I made it out. I stopped bleeding slowly and started to recirculate the blood through my body and everything. So after that tragic experience, I was out. I remember things here and there, but they're not accurate to what they were. I remember waking up in an unfinished basement one time. I remember waking up in a closet one time, but none of it was real. My mind was still trying to wake up. Apparently I had to use a whiteboard to talk because my voice wasn't working from the breathing tube. It made my voice hoarse and I just could not use it. So as time went on, my grandpa, my brother came and visited me at the hospital and everything. And sadly, I don't remember them visiting very much. One of the first things I remember was one of the nurses were telling me that I need to start eating more. Apparently I wasn't eating. They were telling me how a car needs gas, and we're like cars, and our gas is food. If we don't have food, we can't run. If a car doesn't have gas, they can't run. So they were telling me, I really need to start eating. And I would eat very, very little. I had no appetite whatsoever. Nothing sounded good, and everything that I ate was just gross to me. And that meant I wasn't getting waste outside of my body, basically. I wasn't going to the bathroom. So, anyway, I remember just kind of little things here and there. I don't even know if they're in the right order. I remember one night, when I was a little more awake and a little more up to doing stuff, a nurse, one of the night nurses, decided she was going to give me a bath, and so she scrubbed me down and everything, and I brushed my teeth finally. I finally got a little bit clean. The cleanest I've been since I showered the morning we left. And that night, I couldn't sleep, at all. And, so she was a really nice lady. She was like, let's watch TV all night. She's like, let's not tell your parents, and everything. But she was really nice, and I just ended up watching TV most of that day. I just could not sleep, because you sleep in the day, you're awake at night. When you sleep in the day, after you have surgery, everything just gets whacked. Anyway, so eventually, I remember my parents were telling me that my great-grandma had passed away, and that my mom was gonna fly back to go to my great-grandma's funeral. But I hadn't been released to the hospital yet. So my dad took her to the airport, and she went to Salt Lake to go be at my great-grandma's funeral. That day I got released. My dad came back and got me, and I got released from the hospital, but we had to stay in California for a good week or so still. And I was just in pain. You know, my chest had just been ripped open, and it felt like I was wearing like really heavy armor, and then someone was just like jumping on me, and it hurt like crazy. And I could not walk. You know, I had no strength to walk or anything, and my lungs were still really weak from the surgery, and so little wind, like I could not breathe whatsoever, and it was a crazy time of recovery. I had a few stitches we had to get out that they missed. We went and got some stitches out, and then a few days later we had to go back for like one more checkup before I could go back home, and we realized they missed one other stitch, so we had to get that cut. But we were eventually able to go back home. I was able to recover home. So we came back home, you know, and the drive just wore me out. I just went straight to my parents' bed, you know, laid down and started watching a movie. And then my sister came in and she's like, let's go to Walmart. Like, I haven't seen you in forever. Come to Walmart with me. I was like, all right, you're pushing me in a wheelchair because I cannot walk, like anything. So she pushed me in a wheelchair. We went to Walmart together, and that just wore me out. I came home and I just felt sick. I was just so worn out, you know. I started crying because I just felt so worn out, and I just couldn't do it. It was too much at the time. And when I came home, my mom had me go check out my room. My room had been painted, and there had been a metal wall put in to one side. My neighbors actually did that for me while I was having surgery, which was really cool, really nice of them. My room is like a royal blue, and then on one side it has a metallic metal wall. So that was really cool, really kind of interesting thing to come home to. Anyway, so I'm gonna, you know, try to keep this a little shorter. It's a really long story, but I really feel like it's a really interesting story and I love to share, so I'm gonna kind of skip ahead. So I kind of, you know, got to see some friends and stuff as I got home and all that, you know. One of my best friends at the time, you know, stayed the nights, a couple of nights, and chilled with me and whatever. Anyway, so as a few weeks had gone on, I had an incision at the bottom of my chest. I don't know if you guys can see, like, right down here. And it started to like puff up, and it just looked gross. It was like a hard, crusty scab. It was gross, and it was big, and we couldn't tell like what was going on. One day it just like decided to come off, but like it was stuck. The scab was stuck with this ooze thing, and like it was stuck to the goo was stuck to the scab and still like inside of me. It's like when I pulled on it, I could like feel stuff being pulled inside of me. It was really gross, and I didn't understand what was going on. One time I basically had to cut the ooze to get the scab to come off, you know, and then it'd scab over again. But that's all it would do. It would ooze, it would scab over, it would ooze, it would scab over. So we went to the hospital here in my town to just have it checked out, and the surgeon came to find out that there was an infection there, and he didn't want to do anything more to it, so we called UCLA again, and the surgeon there, and said, hey, there's an infection, and he said, get down here, or get up, down, over, wherever, just get here as soon as possible. And so we went back to California, like, I think it was like a month or two later, from when I had the open heart surgery. So we went there, and you know, they did some different tests to kind of see what it was, where the infection was coming from. Anyway, so I had that surgery, you know, went back in, had the IV put in, went down. It was a faster surgery though, you know, it was not quite as major. But what they found out is they had tied like a little string from a hole in my heart to this tube, so that whenever they really needed to, they could open or close that hole whenever they wanted by just pulling that little tube. But my body was rejecting the tube. I was basically allergic to the tube material. My body just couldn't handle whatever the material was that the tube was made of. Just couldn't handle it. So they had to take that out and let the string kind of go free. So then I came back from that surgery pretty fast. We did stay in California a little bit longer to go visit some more places. We went to Warner Brothers Studios and, just kind of went to the Hollywood Star Fame road or sidewalk thing. We just kind of stayed a little bit, kind of made a tiny vacation out of it again. Then we came home and I started to recover again. And, it was a really scary time. At the time, everything was just in commotion. Our minds were not thinking straight. I almost died that summer. I got out of school early that year for the surgery because I needed it done. Because it was either that or watch me die slowly. And so, that surgery basically saved my life. Again, I've had many other instances, but so it was a crazy summer. But I have to say it's my most favorite summer ever. It taught me so much about life, honestly. It opened my eyes to see life in such a bigger way. Before the surgery, I was a very quiet kid. I didn't put myself out there. I was not one to just, not to be out there. I just kind of, I'll be in my little bubble. I'm fine to be here. I was just a really quiet kid. I looked like the nerd in class because the glasses, but then after that surgery, and all that I dealt with, finally really being able to remember the surgery mostly, it opened my eyes so much more, and now I look at life so much brighter, and that surgery taught me so much, and it's made me want to help as many people as I possibly can, to give them hope. That's what this surgery has honestly taught me the most, is that there's so much hope in the world for everyone, and everyone can do anything they want to do. They just got to tell themselves that they can. The only thing that's holding them back is themselves. And so yeah, that's my surgery. That's my story of my open heart surgery 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years this April 13th, 2016. 2 years ago in July, I did go back to UCLA California with my good friend, and we, I showed him the hospital. We went and visited the hospital again, and just went to these different places to kind of revisit the summer that changed my life. And both experiences were amazing, and I would not change anything in the world. That experience is my most favorite experience in my life ever. Nothing has ever topped that yet, and I will forever be grateful for that summer experience. Anyway, guys, that's my story of surgery 5 years ago and living with CHD, congenital heart defect. If you guys have any questions for me about maybe congenital heart defect questions, or if you want to know even more about the surgery than what I've told you, leave a comment below. I'll try to answer what I can. Maybe I'll make a video and answer the questions, but I just wanted to share that experience with you guys. I shared a very shortened version of that in this video, but it is still one of the most amazing experiences I will ever have in my entire life. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video, be sure to ask any questions you have, and be sure to share this story and give others hope. You know, I hope that I gave you guys some hope through this. You know, I fought through surgery. I fought through so much surgery. Now I know you guys can fight through your struggles, your tests at school, your relationships with people. I know you guys can fight it. You guys have it in you. You just gotta tell yourselves that. I know that sounds easier than it really is, but I know you all can do it. So I hope I've given you guys hope, and I hope you guys will share this video and give other people hope. And I hope that you guys will give other people hope. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.